Sports Radio 810 WHB and RBN, the RacinBoys Broadcasting Network. Don't forget, you can always watch Track Talk every Saturday morning on our Facebook page, on our Twitter account, as well as our website, RacinBoys.com. 3 different video platforms. It's free every week. Has been for now 20 years. It's hard to believe it. 20 years of Track Talk right here at Union Broadcasting. And we want to thank Chad Boger and everybody for continued support of the RacinBoys over all these years. No other radio station we'd rather work at than Sports Radio 810, the most powerful all-sports radio station in the country. And we're proud to say we've been here our entire career. So I want to thank Kevin Kiesman, Chad Boger, for allowing us to be over here now. For me personally, I've been at Union Broadcasting 21 years, and boy, does it feel good to say that. That's a long run at one radio station. Kirk's been with me now 19 years. Track Talk anniversary, 20 years. We've got some 20th anniversary Track Talk shirts being made. They're going to be out on our T-shirt trailer that we had down here at Port City this weekend. We've been selling hoodies, selling T-shirts, selling hats. Come by, say hi to Deidre, pick you up one of our vintage look T-shirts. We've got all kinds of different cool vintage look shirts that we've come up with through Podium Inc., the design, and our good friend down at Specialty Sportswear, Bill Shaw, has put them all together for us. And I'm telling you, folks, they are a hit at the racetrack. People love this old vintage look on these race shirts. So come by, say hi, and we'll have it set up to where you can order them online pretty soon. So just stay tuned for that. We'll have it all lined out for you where you can buy them online if you'd like. But better yet, come out and see one of the Luke Oil ASCS National Tour races or one of the races that we're taking the T-shirt trailer to, and come by and pick up a handful of merchandise. We'd love to see you do so. All right, Kirk, I know the other night, as painful as it was for you, and I would have loved to went there, and we watched it, and we had 8,000 people again for the second week in a row watch it live with us on our Facebook account. The meeting at I-70 Speedway. They're trying to get their conditional use permit. But, Kirk, to me, from just watching your broadcast this week, and I did watch it while you were out there, to be honest with you, I have to agree with several of the people that were on the hundreds and hundreds of messages during that broadcast, the people talking. And I have to agree with several of them. There's a point to where it doesn't seem, and no disrespect to the people that are a part of the committee, but it seems to me, Kirk, that they don't know what they're doing. It seems to me that they're chasing their tail and they're not prepared for some of the conversations they're having. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you had one lady on the commission worried about traffic flow in and out of there as though there had never been a race at the old I-70 Speedway. She was thinking, well, what if there's 8,000 people that show up, and how's that going to affect the traffic on I-70 and this and that? And I'm thinking to myself, if that's the main concern, she definitely is not doing her homework. I mean, come on, people.
Kirk, there used to be no less than 10,000 people show up for the truck race and ASA race when it happened there.
Yes.
This isn't nothing new to that facility to have that many people show up.
No, I mean, it's as if this is a brand new racetrack that nothing had ever existed on that property before in terms of a race event. I mean, they're worried about the lighting, and I think a lot of that is some of the neighbors to the north of the racetrack concerned about the lighting on the quarter-mile drag strip towards the end, how that'll affect their property. I mean, some of these things are just, it just seems like they're just trying to run out the clock on this whole thing and try to force Chris Payne to spend more money, and maybe someday he'll just give up on it. That's the impression that I get out of some of what's going on over there.
Well, he can't give up on it now.
No. And he won't give up on it.
Yeah.
But it's
He's
just
too deep into it now.
Yeah,
there's no way he can give up now.
And just as I suspected when I drove over there the other night, anybody who thought that they were going to get a vote on this and the conditional use permit was going to get approved by the Planning and Economic Development Commission of Lafayette County on Thursday night. I never expected that to happen, and it didn't.
No.
And we knew just minutes into the meeting that it wasn't going to happen when there was some variance issues that were needing to be resolved through the Board of Adjustment. And I'm thinking, well, there you go. That's we got to go to the Board of Adjustment now. We've got to get all of these things approved on the variances, and then we'll come back and we'll do some more studies, and we got to do a traffic study and a light study and a sound study. And, you know, when we get all these things together, maybe in a few months, then we can approve everything, and then we'll see what happens. I just think that we're months away, maybe weeks or maybe even months away from this thing getting approved. I hope I'm wrong about that, but that's what it seems to me.
Well, Kirk, I'm with you. My biggest concern wasn't on that. Decibel levels. Decibel levels was the one that I scratched my head at when I was listening to this. It was like they had no clue. Let's just go by the guidelines of what Valley Speedway put together.
Oh,
no,
it's a
don't
different
do
facility.
that because it's a completely different situation. Yeah. Valley Speedway's in the middle of the city.
Yes.
You don't need to treat I-70 with the same decibel levels and the same curfews as Valley Speedway. You're not comparing apples to apples. You're out in the middle of nowhere. Granted, I understand there's neighbors, but there's not near the amount of neighbors at I-70 that there is in Grain Valley. And for them to try to use that as their guidelines is silly, I believe. And to be honest with you, when those people talked about decibel levels, they didn't even really understand decibel levels, it sounded like to me. I don't know anything about them, so why don't we just go by what Valley Speedway does? No. The lawyer for the racetrack needs to get up and say, you can't compare us to Valley Speedway. We're not the same thing. We're different.
Right. Completely different than Valley Speedway.
And I get it that you still have to be considerate of the people that live around the racetrack. I get that, and I'm trying to be sensitive to those people. But trying to put a 10 o'clock curfew on them, I think, is ridiculous. Put a midnight curfew on them. Okay, I understand that. You got to be shut down before it turns the clock to the next day. Okay, I'm good with that. Because you know damn good and well, Kirk, it happens. It happens sometimes races run late. What if you got a sprint car race that ran late? Next thing you know, you didn't get started till 9 o'clock because you had to work in the track and track conditions weren't ready because you couldn't race on it. But if you have a couple hours, you can get it ready. And then you have a couple hours, you get it done. Now it's 9 o'clock. How are you going to get done in time? Then you got to cancel the show. I think getting a curfew around 10 o'clock is going to handcuff Chris Payne and the people that operate that racetrack. In my eyes, I don't know about you, but I think a 10 o'clock curfew is ridiculous for I-70 Speedway. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I believe that the politicians in Lafayette County want to have it both ways. They want to have the economic development that comes with I-70 Motorsports Park. I mean, you have the outlet mall go down. A lot of the businesses there in Odessa. I mean, that was a big thing. The outlet mall over there. It's no longer there. They don't have a lot of economic development going on in Lafayette County right now, and for once, we've got Chris Payne coming in, want to revive the old I-70 Speedway. That's economic development. That's what they're there to do. This is the Planning and Economic Development Commission. So they want to have that, but they're getting pushback from their neighbor constituents over there. And I think what this all boils down to is they're worried about litigation. They're worried about lawsuits, and they're trying to CYA, cover your you-know-what.
Yes.
And I just believe that's a lot of what's going on. Well, you can't have it both ways. Either you're for economic development or you're not. And if you're on this commission, then try to help Chris Payne. not stand in his way. Try to help him develop this, because nobody else was going to go in there and develop that dilapidated property that had fallen into such disrepair. Now, how much value is that to the county and to the neighbors to have the property continue to exist the way it was? So instead of helping somebody come in and develop that property, we're standing in their way, and we're costing him more money and frustration for everybody to get this thing solved. I do believe that eventually this will get resolved, and the conditional use permit will be, won't be completely to the liking of Chris Payne, but it'll be something he can live with and move on. But how soon is that going to happen?
Well, it's not going to happen as soon as, to be honest with you, this could take all year to get this done.
Absolutely, it could take all year. It could take months.
I mean, there's a very good chance that I-70 Speedway doesn't even open this year.
Yes, there is a chance of that. Because now we've continued this meeting from Thursday night. Okay, let's look at the calendar. We got April 17th. Well, that's on Monday, Thursday. I'm not sure we can do it that night. That's right ahead of Easter. Let's look at later.
Kirk, why are they moving it back over to the Lafayette County Courthouse?
Well, they
don't have enough room for the people over there.
But the public hearing is over. Maybe, that was a jam-packed room at Berry Acres on Thursday night. I mean, I walked in there, and the place was packed full of people, mostly race fans in support of what's going on over there. And there were a couple of disruptions during the meeting that the commission didn't like, but for the most part, people were good. People behaved themselves in this meeting. I think they're through with the public comments and the support of this. They want to get back in their own venue up in the courthouse in Lexington, and just try to do this more quietly now. That's my thought.
Well, I'm sure, but they don't have the room. More people are going to show up every time they have one of these meetings. There's going to be people show up. I would say probably the people out at Berry Acres are tired of giving up their place, donating it. This many times. So
I don't know. It's a great facility, wonderful facility.
I love it.
If
you want to have a wedding, you might want to look into Berry Acres out in Odessa. It's a pretty nice place. Yeah.
So I don't know how much longer this is going to go, Scott. I mean, in my mind, this is going to go months before this thing finally gets resolved, because once it goes through the Planning and Economic Development Commission, doesn't it have to be approved by the County Board of Supervisors? Doesn't the CUP have to go to them for final approval? I don't know what the exact
I don't know the answer.
Procedure is on this, but I would think that would have to get a final resolution from the County Board of Supervisors, if that's what they call it over there.
Well, I think I'm like you, Kirk. I think everything's going to pass eventually, because I think the county wants the revenue that's going to be generated there. Yes. But, gosh, at the expense of Chris Payne, what's this extra, all these things and these surveys and fencing that they want up? It just
this is getting very expensive. This is getting very expensive.
Really expensive. Very expensive. Lawyers' fees. You know how long it takes to add up a lawyer fee? About one phone call, right?
Right.
So hopefully the lawyer that they're using, Chris Payne's using, I think he's doing a fine job. Hopefully he's working for cheap, because he's going to have a lot of hours involved in this deal. I don't know, Kirk. I just think that I just want to go back to where it doesn't appear to me that the people that are a part of that board committee have done enough personal research about noise levels. I think they're depending on other people to give them information without going out and searching out themselves. It's what it appears. They might have been out looking themselves, but it appears to me that they're not looking themselves. They're waiting for the guy they hired as staff to tell them, and then they try to make their mind up off of that. But let's face it, 95 decibel levels is not a bad level. That's a good place to put it. Just leave it at 95 decibels. After the event, if you want to put a lower decibel level in, I get that, because you're going to have air dryers and blowers and stuff, but that stuff doesn't make that much noise, and you're out in the middle of nowhere. That's not going to make that much. Lighting, you're worried about the lighting after the event? All right, turn down almost all the lights. Just leave enough lights up to where you can do the cleanup. They don't. The entire place doesn't have to be lit up to do
And
cleanup.
he would be
right?
happy to do that because we all know how expensive it is to fire up those lights at a race
Well,
facility.
it's not as much as it used to be, Kirk, because now most lights are LED.
Right.
A lot of people are not buying Musco lighting because Musco lighting burns a lot more juice. And there's a lot better options out there now with LED lighting. And so it doesn't cost you near as much as it used to back in the days. But you're right. I mean, all they got to do is just turn it down. Just tamp it down a little bit. It'll be okay. Just tamp down the lights a little bit and let it go. And listen, I'm okay with the midnight curfew. I get that. Hell, I don't want to be there past midnight.
No, nobody does.
I love tracks that are done before midnight. It's like last night. They weren't going to get done until 2 o'clock in the morning, unless Mother Nature set in.
Right.
Nobody likes sitting at the racetrack till 2 in the morning watching races. I mean, sometimes I do because I don't have anything else to do. But for the most part, I think fans are ready to get home by midnight, right? So having a midnight curfew is okay. I don't have any problem with that. But trying to shut them down at 10 o'clock, you'd have to, first of all, you got to take into consideration how far I-70 Speedway is away from the city. You got to give people enough time and allow them enough time to get to the racetrack after work and get out there. You got to allow people to do their normal life things before they go to the track. And if you start the races at 6 o'clock because you got to get them over at 10, that's going to hurt your attendance. So I don't think an early start time is the answer for I-70 Speedway due to its location. It's 41 miles away from downtown Kansas City. Rush hour traffic on a Friday, if they have a race out there on a Friday, that's tough. Tough to get out there. I-70 is not an easy road to navigate when there's a lot of cars on it, especially during rush hour. So I think the races need to start at 7:30, let them close down by midnight, call it a day, and leave it at 95 decibels. At midnight, drop the decibel level down to, say, 85% so they can do the cleanup. Tell them to turn the lights down to 50% and let them clean up all night if they need to clean up all night.
Yeah,
because first of all, the people that live around the property, don't they want it clean? Because if they don't keep it clean, that trash ends up on their property. So you want to make sure they do a good job cleaning it up. So give them an ample amount of time, lower the decibel level, turn down the lights, let it get them all done. Don't give them a time limit, and just go about your business and just be professional about it. That's the way I look at it.
You mentioned 95 decibels. Does anybody, and I don't know the answer to this, what is the decibel reading off normal traffic on I-70 Speedway if you're right by those properties? That. Yeah, I mean, I
wouldn't know that. Kirk, I do know that when I worked over at Metro Sports and when they were trying to close down KCIR, we took a decibel level meter up on top of the hill, right in front of the lady, and you know her name, powerful lady. I'll leave it alone.
Who no longer lives there, I'm told.
No longer lives there now, right? And she might be living down there in that big white building down in the bottoms because it's got their name on it. I don't know. So that's as far as I'll go with that. But we went up in front of her house one night where they were racing drag cars down there. We took a microphone. We held it down low. And the leaves that were blowing around the microphone made more noise than the cars on the racetrack. I think people kind of sensationalize decibel levels sometimes, or how loud things are. It's just like the one guy at the courtroom says, well, I live 4.6 miles from the old KCIR, and I used to hear that noise every night. Now, come on now. He lived over by 40 Highway and 470, and he said the noise from KCIR bothered him.
Every night. Well, they didn't race there every night.
When they raced there, it bothered him. Now, listen, you've got 470, you've got 291, you've got 40 Highway, and everything in between it. You're telling me that the noise was unbearable from I-70 Speedway all the way over at 470 and 40 Highway. Sir, I'm going to call that bull. I don't believe that, and I'll never believe that. And I think it's terrible that you had the nerve to get up there and say that the noise was unbearable 4.5 miles away, clear over there. I don't believe there's truth in that. So.
Well, these are the times we live in, Scott. This is why it's so difficult to develop motorsports facilities in this day and age. Be happy with what you got right now, because it's going to get more difficult as the years go by.
Kirk, I don't know what we have scheduled next. But
Lee Spencer?
Okay, I don't know if we should bump Lee to the top of the hour or not, because we really need to talk to the fans about Lakeside Speedway on Sports Radio 810 before we go to the internet. So I really like to talk about that. So I don't know if that's possible or not. But
we could reschedule. Sure.
Well, let's move her to the second hour. When we come back, folks, we need to talk about Lakeside Speedway and the future of that racetrack. It's not looking good for this summer, folks. I'm just telling you. It doesn't look like this track's going to be open before June. We had Pete Howie on. Maybe we could play that interview as well later. I don't know. But we'll be back with more Track Talk here in a moment. Stay tuned.
Track Talk.